On June 28th, there is a new moon in Cancer making a square to Jupiter. At the same time, Mars is squaring Pluto. Now, Jupiter brings luck and opportunities, while Mars and Pluto can be quite a lot of changes. And so what does this mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the new moon. It is on June 28th. It's at 7 degrees of Cancer. We're going to do a short overview and then we're going to go sign by sign. So this new moon is coming at a time when there is a lot of turmoil going on in the world. There's a lot of changes happening, and of course we're hearing from the news cycle that we're supposed to be concerned about lots of different things, finances, inflation, war, drought, etc. So, and the interesting part about this new moon is there's not a lot of aspects, and so that means that most of us are going to be sitting a little bit on the sidelines, at least in some areas of our lives. That means that the timing is off, things are out of sync, and that when you do have aspects that are coming up, that you focus on that energy. And so as we go sign by sign, listen to the different areas of life where there are aspects happening, and that's where you're supposed to focus on, at least for the next 2 weeks. So a little while ago, I had done some videos on Chinese astrology and the year of the water tiger and how disruptive that energy was going to be. And of course, this tiger is proving to be quite rebellious, as tiger energy is. And so we're going to see throughout the year a lot of volatility in the market making these wild swings, but also that people are feeling rebellious. And so people are not going to do what is expected of them. They're going to not want to be caged, not want to be blocked in any way. So in all of this, we need to remember that we are co-creating with the universe. And so what that means is that as we check in with the universe and ask for support, the universe brings us gifts. And along with the gift comes a lesson. And if we're willing to do the lesson, then we get the gift. And so that might be that you're asking for more money in your business, but that means that you need to get out of the office and connect with people. Maybe that's something you're not feeling so comfortable with after so many years of not doing that. And so the universe helps and guides us in our life path direction. At the same time, we get the things that we are looking for, and that's how we co-create. So one of the ways that we can really co-create with the universe is to ask, what is the universe trying to tell me? Or something that could work even better is to ask yourself, what do I know I should be doing that I'm not doing now? So this new moon is making a square to Jupiter, and that's really good news, because Jupiter is about luck and expansion, and it brings a spiritual connection. And so this is opportunities when you are connecting with the community, but also to expand your business, to deepen your love relationships. So the opportunities are there. Now, that's from a personal standpoint. When we look at more of the mundane chart, and mundane chart means, I know we see the word mundane and we think of being ordinary or everyday, but in astrology, a mundane chart means the greater worlds. So the city or the country or the entire world. And so from a mundane standpoint, this means that everything is being done to excess. And so that the wild swings in the market are much more than usual, that there is more tightening of monetary policies, or more tightening of borders, or there is more expansion of spending. There is, people using more credit. So whichever way the pendulum is swinging, it's swinging really wildly because of this square to Jupiter. But when we bring it down to the personal level, that's where Jupiter becomes our point of luck and expansion in the areas we're working on, but also our connection to our higher selves and to the greater universe. So that's the point of opportunity, and that's why we look at it in our personal charts. Now, it's interesting that this new moon making the square to Jupiter is also making a little semi-sextile to Venus. And so, which is this energy of just at the point where you're comfortable, you have to get a little uncomfortable to do something. And so that is, if you think about it, it's like you're sitting on the sofa and what you want is just out of reach. And so you have to shift something. So in your life, that can mean that, maybe you're quite happy working at home on the computer, but this says you need to go out and meet some people. Or maybe you are with your sweetheart and you're getting into that old discussion, aka argument, and then you might want to, make the little bit of the effort to concede a point or to put yourself in their shoes. Just a smidge, because it's a semi-sextile. That's where the potential for growth is. Now, at the same time, Mars is making a square to Pluto, and this is a pretty intense aspect. So when we are talking about it, it is just a moment in time. So because Mars moves fairly quickly, so it means that it is centered on a couple of days. So, but we look at charts for a 2-week period. So this is a symbol that we carry with us for 2 weeks. And so Mars, which is named after the god of war, is all about taking action, extremely direct action, like no holds barred. This is what I'm going to do. Now, Pluto, which is actually named after the god of death, or a little Disney dog, depending on where you're coming from. But Pluto is about a complete destruction of something so that something new can be rebuilt. Rebuilt. So this is the energy of transformation. But if we break it down into the steps, it is, finding something that's not working and taking that thing apart, deconstructing it, and then constructing something new, so something new is reborn. And so the Mars is about taking action in this area. And what Pluto does is it will find what is a false support, where we ourselves are leaning on something and thinking it's solid, but it's not really solid. So in this time, Pluto comes and kicks those little crutches out from under us. And the Mars is where we take some action to deal with that change. Now, with this aspect, there is a semi-sextile from Neptune to Mars and a sextile from Neptune to Pluto. So that's our spiritual connection. So the universe is still here, still working with us, has not abandoned us. And so we have that ability to ask for help and co-create with the universe. So in this world of constant change, there is a power struggle going on, and that power struggle is going to be very apparent with this Mars square Pluto. We're likely to see large groups of people forced to do something that is totally out of their control, and this could be based on war or weather or political changes or, economic changes. And so in our own lives, it is very helpful for us to recognize what is in our control and what is outside of our control, but additionally to look at what are we leaning on and is that a true support. And so, for example, that might be the person who says that they're going to have their same job forever, and I know that sounds a little silly, like nobody would believe that anymore, but it's something, of course, when I was growing up, people thought that people would get a job and have that same job until they retired. So, but now that would be a false support, this idea that the same job would be there for that person. And so if you recognize that that's a false support, then you can take action to find true supports, which would be your skills, that you have opportunities to learn new things, that you have opportunities to make connections with people, maybe in competing businesses, maybe in associated industries, etc. So other false supports might be that you believe your landlord will never sell your building, and so that you wouldn't have to move, or that the grocery store is always going to be filled with food. So looking at where you are leaning on something and say, is it possible that this is not a real support? And then what can I do? What kind of action can I take to get something that's real, something that is solid? And again, like when we talk about this, we are talking over a 2-week period, expecting ourselves to do all of this in 2 weeks. This is just a time to put your energy there so that the universe and you can start to work together to build the life that you want. So despite what lots and lots of videos and the news cycle is saying, it's not necessary to be afraid. What is necessary is to take action. And the ideal action with a new moon and with Mars in Aries is an action you haven't done before. So, because if we do the same things we've done in the past, we're going to get the same results. If we do new things, we don't know if it's going to work, but at least we'll get new results. And from those new results, we can analyze that and decide how we can course correct to get the results that we want. And that's where astrology comes in. Your astrology chart is a GPS. Well, at least that's how I see it. And so a GPS tells you that if you stay on this road, this is the kind of traffic you're going to reach. This is the obstacles that are going to be there. It also can say, well, here's a better route to take. And so you come in with, this is the destination I want. Maybe the destination you want is this house in the country, you're homesteading. Maybe it is to build a business. Maybe it's to find the love that really speaks to you. And so you use the chart as that GPS to tell you what's on the road ahead for the destination you have chosen. So I guess this is a perfect time to tell you that I do readings. I also have written a lot of books. I write columns for horoscope.com and astrology.com, and I am going to be doing some classes. I keep promising this. I know I'm working on a couple of video courses right now, and so that's been taking up a lot of my time. I'm very, very close to finishing my video course on how to read the tarot and how to take your tarot business to the next level. And so I'm really excited. I'm going to be announcing that soon. And just to let you know, we're doing tropical Western astrology. It's a good idea to look or listen to or watch. Jeez, this is going to be a long video. It's a good idea to watch your ascending sign as well as your sun sign. So the ascending sign is going to tell you more about what's happening. If you don't know your rising sign or ascending sign, you can send me your birth information and I'll send you a copy of your chart. Okay, Aries, you guys are doing this new moon at the base of your chart. That is foundations, home, and family. And so first of all, from a foundation standpoint, it is about looking maybe at things that happened to you in childhood, but looking at them with a new eyes, new light, because the things that happen to you, you cannot change, but how you interpret those things or how you see yourself now because of those things is within your power to change. And so this is where that square to Jupiter can come in handy, where you say, look where I have, come now, what have I accomplished? What am I good at? Or if those aren't the positive answers, then maybe it is, what new thing can I start? What can I do differently than Jupiter also is indicating that the answers are within you, that the universe is trying to help you out and give you a helping hand through things that are happening at home. Maybe it is that you're moving, maybe you're dealing with family issues. And so that this says you have the strength to do this, and that as you need strength, you can pull that in from the universe. Now, additionally, because the Mars is in your own sign of Aries, you might be very action-oriented right now. It's making that square to the Pluto right at the top of your chart. So you are watching the world shift and change. And so you are seeing actions that you can take. Now, this can be related to your career, that you see your industry or your company going through changes. And if you haven't noticed that maybe it's time to ask yourself, is this still the place to work? Is this still the job to do? And that can then affect that new moon energy at the base of your chart, which is saying, where should I live? And is this a good place to live? And so you're actually the lucky one of all the signs right now, because this Jupiter and Mars are in your own sign, and they are giving you the energy, and you're getting the information to know what direction to take. So there is some really good energy for you here, but it is not quiet and restful. It says go do something, take an action, especially new action. That's the best thing to be doing. So when it comes to love relationships, especially new love, Mars is not making an aspect to the sun. And if you listen to my introduction, you'll know that not a lot of aspects are happening in this chart. And so we do, though, have the majority of planets in that quadrant, which says self-care is important. So that's really what you need to be working on, is taking care of yourself. And that might mean, through diet or exercise, or just pampering yourself a little bit so that you can rest and recover and then be ready to go out and do some dating. When it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is not making an aspect with Mars. And so, again, self-care is where we see the most energy. This is about, you recovering from something. Maybe your partner is really busy with other things, and so this means some time for you to care for yourself. It is also possible that you're just working on different things, that you're side by side, but you have, the different areas of life that you focus on. And so this is that you're not coming together so much at this time to work on things or dig through issues. This is more of just getting through things day by day, and especially for you, taking new actions. Now, when it comes to home and family, even though the moon is not making an aspect to Mars, it is the new moon in this area, which means that there is a lot of new energy around home and family. That could mean that somebody is moving back home, or that somebody is moving out. It's possible you're getting a roommate, or you're actually moving. Maybe you're working on some home renovations, but there's something new going on related to home or related to the family. And so there is new energy there. The fact that it's not making that aspect to Mars says that a lot of the actions you're taking aren't related to home and family. So you're seeing the changes happen, but you're busy with other things. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Venus, which is making the semi-sextile to the new moon and the sextile to Jupiter. And so this means it's slightly outside of your comfort zone, but the money is there, that there are opportunities for you. And so that is just reach a little bit, maybe do a little bit extra than you want to do, or maybe you got all comfortable and then you remembered you were going to work on your website, so you have to get up and do that, or you have to make a phone call, but the money opportunities are there. You just have to adjust a little bit. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, Venus is not making an aspect with Pluto. And so this says that you're making around the same amount as usual. What's probable is that this is kind of just a holding period while we see the fluctuations in the market, or you have new customers coming in because of all the activity you're doing, but you're not getting paid within this 2-week period. It'll be outside the 2-week period, and so you're making about the same as usual. And when it comes to money from your career, like a paycheck, Venus is not making an aspect to Uranus. And so, again, we're seeing things as being pretty status quo. Now, Uranus is still in your house of money, so there may be talk of future bonuses or future raises, but you're not receiving it during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're highly leveraged or very time sensitive. You're actually doing an aspect. So that is that Venus semi-sextile the sun. And so that means that if you step outside your comfort zone just a smidge, you are going to find an opportunity. And so that is, sitting down and actually learning about the investment that you're thinking of doing, especially if it's one of those altcoins, like what is the reason that that coin could go up? Not just because it becomes popular, but what's the infrastructure behind it, or what's the programming behind it? What good is it going to do in the world? So, and same thing, like if you're working on your screenplay, maybe it's time to pass that screenplay on to someone else and risk the criticism, and have them question, the different scenes or things like that. So this is just pull yourself outside your comfort zone, and you have opportunities in this area. Okay, Taurus, you guys are doing this new moon in your area of communication. This is also about self-thought, how you are speaking to yourself, as well as communication that goes elsewhere. So that would be contracts, agreements, and things like that. So something new can happen in this area. Now you're doing that square to Jupiter in your house of spirituality and intuition. And so this really says to do some more meditation, magic, do your goal board, like focus on different ways that you're putting out that information in a very positive way of what you want to achieve. So this is about you communicating your wishes to the universe, but in a positive way. And so with this new moon, because it's something new, you want to do new thoughts. And that is, if you have been plagued with negative thinking, this is the time to say, you know what, I'm just going to put off the negative thinking for now, and I'm going to think of some things that are more like questions of what can I do now? What are the opportunities that I'm not seeing? What should I be doing at this moment? So by asking these questions, then yes, your brain may come up with a negative answer. Just discard those negative answers for now and look for the positive answer. Now, when we look at that Mars square Pluto, Mars is in that 12th house for you. That gives you an enormous amount of energy right now. That means you have energy that you're pulling from the universe. It's making a square to Pluto in your house of education, legal matters, and travel. So it's possible that you could get a whole new perspective on things just by going somewhere. It's also possible that you are looking at education, and maybe you had some really strong ideas about, that you wanted a 4-year degree or an advanced degree, and now perhaps you're looking at it and saying maybe there's a different route to take. So this is also about legal matters, and so this is with that Mars where you could work behind the scenes and work on a legal matter that you have, reading the information, talking to your attorney, and developing a strategy. I had a few more things on my list for you, so I had to check. That is like if your passport needs to be updated, this is a good time to do it. If you are dealing with any issues around education that you need to fill out paperwork, if you're working on some student loan debt or things like that, that's where you can take action right now. All right, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Mercury. However, they are in the same sign. Now, the problem is that Mercury moves slightly faster than Venus, and so they are separating. They're getting farther apart, which means that maybe you're feeling like the person you were interested in, they're not calling as much, they're not connecting as much. And this energy could line up in the future. So because, as that Mercury pulls away, it can still form an aspect with Venus, but right now they're not. And so this does indicate that right now you should just sit back and wait, because chasing at this point, it's like you're not going to catch up because you are represented by the slower moving planet. So the bottom line here is that focus on other things. That's where your attention should be, because the energy that you're looking for in this area, it's not present for the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, kind of the same story, and that is Venus is not making an aspect to Pluto. And so, again, your focus seems to be elsewhere, and you've got quite a few planets in that area of self-care, and so that's really what you should be doing, is looking for how you can take care of yourself, and this could be through diet, exercise, maybe, getting a haircut or something like that, like doing something for you and recuperating, recovering, and then coming back into your relationship where you're refreshed and renewed. Now, when it comes to home and family, there is an aspect between Venus and the Sun, which we've been talking about, and that's that semi-sextile. And so that says with a little bit of being outside your comfort zone, things can come together nicely. So that means a little extra effort is needed for you to make a connection with somebody who you live with, or if you're looking for a new place, you just need to step outside. Maybe that list that you've made of where you want to live and all that, maybe you just have to be slightly outside of that area to make this happen. So then with this, that says that when you do, then the luck happens, because then that Venus connects to Jupiter and the spiritual help you need comes in. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury, which is in the house of money. Well, it's in the house of money. And so that means you have multiple opportunities for pulling in money. So this Mercury is not as prominent as it has been in previous charts. That doesn't mean you don't have lots of opportunities. You do. There are different ways that you could pull in money. And so you should consider who you need to communicate with, what you need to start. Remember, there's a lot of focus on new beginnings with this chart. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, Mercury is not making an aspect with Jupiter, so you're making about the same as usual. And this means that you do want to still do the marketing, you want to get out there, you have a very strong communication house, but that the results are probably coming in after the 2-week period, or even if the results come in during the 2-week period, you're not getting paid until after the 2-week period. Now, it's a completely different story when we see money derived from your career, because Mercury is making a square to Neptune, and this means there is a big opportunity for you to make more money at your job. So this is a time to ask for a raise, ask for a different commission schedule, ask for a bonus, or get some perks that are valuable to you, like more flexibility in your schedule or some time off that maybe is covered. So there are some big opportunities for you. Both Mercury and Neptune are in money houses, so this could be a really good time. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're highly leveraged or time sensitive. Mercury's not making a lot of aspects in this chart. It is making that aspect to Neptune, and that aspect is tightening. However, for the most part, it's not doing a lot of energy. And so this is more just kind of cool your heels, do what you've been doing, and focus on the kind of results you're getting. Look at what you were thinking when you got into this investment. Did you think, I'm going to buy and hold? Maybe when you got in, you said, I don't care about the fluctuations in the market. I'm just going to stay with it because I believe in it. So, and now if you're feeling jittery because of all the gyrations in the market, go back to what you were thinking of before and see if that's in line with your thinking now. Okay, Gemini, you guys are doing this new moon in your house of money. So this does indicate that you have new money opportunities coming around, but you also need to think about money in a new way. Now, you are doing that square to Jupiter in your house of community, technology, and the future. So if we look at this idea of that square to Jupiter and the future, that would be doing your goals, doing a vision board. But if you've done these in the past and they haven't worked, it is to see if there's a new way to do this. Maybe break things down into smaller increments, or maybe focus on one particular thing at a time. So when it comes to community, it does indicate there's a lot of people in the community who can support you and help you out in whatever things you're trying to do. And also, because this is talking about technology, it does indicate that in this world that we're in, where technology is getting to be more and more important, and in a lot of ways, technology is getting easier, it's getting more user-friendly, so there's less coding that has to be done, and more just, deciding what you're going to do. And I think that that more of the difficulty is just naming what it is. Like if you can name it, then you can Google it and then you can find out. But this is indicating to look at how technology could aid you in making more money. Now, where you're doing that Mars square Pluto, Pluto is still in your house of resources, so that is credit, debt, and investments. And so that's the thing that over these past years has been transforming for you. Now, what's happening now is that Pluto is retrograde, but it's going to go forward again, and it's actually going to leave this house for you. And so you do have still some opportunities where you can use the Pluto. And of course, when the Pluto is out, it's going to feel better. So, but that's not until next year. So right now, this is that Pluto is bringing you opportunities to basically deconstruct your ideas about investing, credit, or debt, and then you can reconstruct it in a way that's beneficial to you. And you do that through that square to Mars, and that is through the communities, finding out different ways of doing things, like what have your friends done? What do groups and organizations, do they come together to help each other? And maybe you can get involved in that. So this is where you might be looking at, say, your investments and saying, you know, does anybody I know working with this investment? And if so, like, can we collaborate? Can we get together? Can we talk about it? That would be going to investment meetings, things like that. Of course, you know, there's all types of resources. And so Pluto here transiting this house for you for so many years is also about, you know, whether you are this island and not making connections, not finding that place where you're helping others and they're helping you. And so if you're feeling isolated, that this is something now where you can take some action to connect. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect to Mercury, and so we don't have a connection. That means the timing's off. This isn't the thing to be focused on. Now, it's super interesting that you have quite a few planets going on in that quadrant that says self-care, and then you also have a lot in the area of friendship. And so this is about looking at maybe not, you know, for a love relationship, but maybe a new friend, and also taking care of yourself. And that is, you know, treating yourself kindly, recuperating or resting when you need it, that energy of taking care of you, and then finding friends that you want to take care of who want to take care of you. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, again, Mercury is not making an aspect to Jupiter. So there's not this connection right now. This is more about friendships and taking care of self. So even when it comes to your existing love relationship, it's like you're both off doing different things and you're not really coming together to work on things over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to home and family and your dwelling itself, Mercury's not making a lot of aspects. I mean, it's making a few, but nothing's tight. And so what I would think here is that there is some movement starting. So some sort of changes are happening at home, but the culmination of those changes are outside the 2-week period. So I think that maybe you're thinking about moving, or maybe you're thinking about, if we stay here, how do we change the house to make it more comfortable? Maybe somebody is just moved in, but outside the 2-week period, like a few weeks ago, they moved back home. And so you're still kind of, really things are fairly stable at home. Just some ideas are coming into your mind about what to do in the future. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that moon in that house of money. So this is where your star is. This is saying that you have more opportunities to make money now than you have had in a while. So that is that you want to pursue this, especially through friendships, groups, organizations, and connections with others. So this also is about getting your mindset in that space of making money, because Mercury is in your own sign. Venus, which is the planet of money, is in your own sign as well. So you have some really great opportunities when it comes to money. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your own business, the moon's making a sesquiquadrant to Saturn. And that is a challenging aspect that can bring you rewards if you just get over that hurdle. So the energy is that you're kind of trying to thread a needle here, and that is that you're trying to do something that's rather difficult, and so you need to take the time that it takes to do it well. So that is if you are launching something, and of course with all this Aries energy, you probably are. So if you're launching a new marketing campaign, just make sure everything's spelled right, like make sure that you sign off on things before, somebody pushes the button and sends it out into the world. If you're launching things like a podcast or something like that, it's a little bit challenging right now because this energy is one where you are trying to do it right, and you're going to catch some errors along the way, and you want to fix those before the public sees it. So otherwise, if you find this energy too challenging, just move what you're trying to do outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money from your career, which would be like a paycheck, while the moon is not making an aspect with Mars, you do have a very nice house because Mars is in a money house, the moon is in a money house, plus you have Jupiter there, which is making that square to the moon. So there's enough here that I think that even without the aspect, you have a strong possibility of making more money through your job, and that could be through a raise, bonus, extra hours, or maybe something that you're doing on the side. Also, if you are looking for a new job, you have positive energy here for negotiating a higher salary. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're highly leveraged or time sensitive. The moon is making that semi-sextile to Venus that we were talking about in the intro. And that is that it's just outside of your comfort zone. So when things are outside of our comfort zone, it's almost like there's a glamour on it and we can't quite focus on it. It's a little too bright or shiny to look at, or like we think, okay, I'm going to work on this, and then we end up working on something that's more familiar or easy. That's the sneaky thing about a semi-sextile is because it's just slightly outside of your comfort zone, you're not thinking, okay, I'm going to gear up and do this. It is more like, oh, I'll just put it off. And so this is where you want to focus on what it is, what action you need to take, because Venus is right there in your own sign and says, do something. And so what is the action that you need to take that's just outside of your norm of doing things, and that could lead to more money over the next 2 weeks. Okay, Cancer, this is your new moon, and that means you're starting a new 12-month cycle. So when we look at the lunar cycle, this would be the new moon time of a 12-month period for you. That means you want to try as many new things as you can. This is a time to start new things, and then you would, in a few months, or actually over the course of 12 months, be able to harvest from what you plant during this month. And so think of it as the entire month. Think of it as an intense 2 weeks of seed planting. And you could even go so far as a 3-month period where you're planting new seeds, and that means trying new things. Now, these things don't have to be big things. I mean, any new thing that you do could trigger a series of events. So that means that you might take a new route to work. You might try a new grocery store. You might try new food. You might try new toothpaste. So just look at what you normally do and try to do something different. And if you're not sure of what that is, then do the opposite of what you would normally do, and that would be something different. Now, this new moon is making a square to that Jupiter right at the top of your chart. And so this says, first, look for who you look up to as a role model. And if you don't have any role models, then it might be time to at least pull aspects of different people's lives and say, all right, I like what they're doing here, or I like, how they deal with their relationships, or I like how they are doing their career. You can also look through people in history and say, all right, historically, like, who is a role model? So that's something that this Jupiter can do. It also suggests that you do things that you find admirable. And that is, if you take that path where you come to the end of each day and say, wow, I'm really proud of myself, that would be very beneficial with this Jupiter. And then finally, this Jupiter square means to look at the bigger picture. That is to, as you are focusing on all those little new seeds that you're planting, that different route to the post office and all that, also look at the bigger picture and look at your priorities and see if what you're doing on those little things are those in line with your bigger goals. Now, with that Mars square Pluto, we see a transformation of a relationship in your life. And so this might be an important relationship. Maybe you and your partner are changing how you are relating to each other. It's possible that a close friend is moving far away, or that they are now in a relationship and don't have as much time to spend with you. So we do see a shift, and that is something where, if that's the case, then you want to be expanding your circle of friends perhaps, or maybe if it's with your partner, finding a way to work out the differences. Now, the other side of this aspect means that you have access to more powerful, important people during this next 2 weeks. And so if there's someone you have wanted to work with, you might want to reach out to them through direct message to see if you can make a connection. Now, when it comes to your relationship, specifically new love, the moon is not making an aspect to Pluto. And even though it's not making an aspect, this is your new moon. So new love is still a possibility. Now, what could happen is you might meet someone and not actually get your first date within the 2-week period, or that the communication is a little slow to get started. But you should, because you are more noticeable at this time, you should consider focusing outward. Plus, almost all of the planets in your chart right now are elevated, which means you are more easy to be seen. That's a really awkward sentence. You're more visible now. And so that means that love can find you. So you want to put yourself in a place where love can find you, even if you're not in the mood right now to be looking for love. Now, when it comes to existing relationships, the moon's making a sesquiquadrat to Saturn, and this can be an interesting and yet sometimes challenging aspect. So if the two of you have a strong relationship, there could be something extraordinary that happens during this time. But if your relationship is already fractured in some ways, you need to be careful that it doesn't come apart more, because this energy can bring small irritations and make them really intense. So it's things that where we're kind of combining actions with that square energy with some semi-square energy. And so what happens is like actions on top of actions, and people can get quite irritated. But if the relationship is strong, then action on action just means that you're in a flow. So there's kind of like that fine line here. This is not so easy for repairing something, but if already the relationship is good, it's going to get a little bit better. Now, when it comes to home and family, the moon is making a semi-sextile to Venus, so there's a little bit of activity going on. It's interesting because Venus is in your 12th house, and so it's almost like you're nesting a little bit, you're kind of hiding away, and so there is some positive energy here. Maybe you are cleaning out closets or things like that. It's almost like you're more hidden than usual in your house, but you're still having pretty good relationships with other people there. Just some slight irritations. Somebody leaving their socks on the floor, or their laundry in the dryer, that sort of thing. So that there is an aspect, so that means there is some positive energy here, but it's slightly irritating. So now when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that sun in your first house, in your own sign, and it's making a square to Jupiter elevated in your chart. So some of the best energy for making money you've had all year. So this is a great time to start a new project, to launch a new marketing campaign. If you already have an existing business, you want to do something new, something different. Maybe it's live stream. Maybe you're launching your podcast or a new product. So if you're looking for a job, this is an opportunity to put your resume out there, because you have now a combination of being seen, and you're going to appear to have more confidence. You're going to appear to be the right candidate, and that can get you the interview and the offer. So this is super good energy. You want to capitalize on it. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your own business, you're making about the same as usual, because the sun is not making an aspect to Uranus. So we are not seeing that energy here yet. So you might be booking more clients, but not getting paid within this 2-week period. So the money is coming, but it's just not coming right away. And now when it comes to money derived from career, so like a paycheck, the sun is making a semi-sextile to Venus. So there is an opportunity. It's not the strongest of opportunities. You are going to get stronger opportunity later this year. And so you may want to wait to ask for a raise until then. But it is possible that you're making a little bit more than usual by having more hours, getting a bonus, or having something else that is increasing your paycheck just a little bit. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're highly leveraged or time sensitive. The sun is not making an aspect to Pluto. And so this means that right now the prospect for getting a big gain isn't there. So it is a time to do research, to work behind the scenes, to reach out though to other people, especially those people who have power and authority, and see if you can get a connection and get information from them. So like you have a lot you can do, but right now the profits seem to be coming outside this 2-week period. Okay, Leo, this new moon is in your house of rest, recuperation, spirituality, intuition, and your shadow self. And so this new moon marks the last month of your 12-month cycle. And so that indicates that you need to be focused on what was in the past, looking at what you want to let go of, what you want to take forward into the new cycle. And so looking at what you've accomplished, how much you've grown, where you want to focus on then for going forward when you do your beginning of 12-month cycle on the next new moon. This is also in that house of rest and recuperation. And so during this 2-week period, you want to see if you can't get some rest. Because it's a new moon, it's the beginning of something. And so maybe looking at your sleep schedule and doing something new with that, or perhaps, redoing your bedroom so you can get more restful sleep. It's also about looking at the inner you, your shadow self. And so that is maybe doing some journaling or meditation, those things where you're turning inward a bit and seeing, checking in with yourself to see how you're doing. Now, this new moon is making that square to Jupiter in your house of religion, faith, also travel, legal matters, and education. And so this is where you are getting in touch with kind of the bigger picture of things. And so maybe you are studying something through a course, maybe you are going somewhere like traveling, going on vacation. And that can be this restful vacation for you and just taking you out of your regular routine. And so therefore you're able to really look at yourself from a new angle to, kind of examine your life from a different space. And then also, of course, because this is also the house of faith, it is about reconnecting with your spiritual path, maybe through a group of people coming together, like going back to church or going back to a yoga group or something like that, where you're coming together with like-minded people to just be in your faith together. Now, where you're doing that Mars square Pluto is in that house of educations coming together with daily routines. And so this is about taking the things that you're thinking of, these bigger ideas, and breaking those down into the smaller steps that you might take on a daily basis. And so that might be that you want to meditate, you don't have a lot of time, so you're just doing a 2-minute meditation instead of a 20-minute meditation. Or that you're even going so fast as just doing a single conscious breath, and that's your meditation for the day. So it is looking at the daily habits and how those will transform your life because you're doing something that is incrementally making improvements. Now, with this, Mars is in that house of education, so all the information that you need to do this is there. You just have to ask. Now, when it comes to relationships, especially new love, the sun is making a square to Jupiter that we were just talking about. So this is an extraordinarily good time for you to be looking for love. There are real opportunities there to meet someone who you have not just a chemistry reaction with, like there's a sexual chemistry reaction, but also a spiritual connection. So you could meet somebody who maybe you knew in a past life, maybe something like a twin flame or something where I don't like to use all of those terms because people have their own definitions of what those are, but someone with whom you have a real connection. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun is not making an aspect to Uranus, so this is not the priority right now. The two of you seem to be going side by side or working on different things, like you have your area of the household that you take care of, and they have their area of the household, and everything's moving along okay, but right now it's not that the two of you are coming together so much to work on the relationship. You're more working on your individual things, and I think that that's fine. This chart has all the planets except for Pluto elevated, which means that this is more about being out and meeting new people or connecting outwardly through groups or to God, and not so much being at home. So although you can be at home because the sun and moon are in the 12th house, so that means you can be home, but then you're isolated at home and you're not necessarily in the living room interacting with everyone. And so just to continue with that theme, when we look at home and family, the sun's not making an aspect to Pluto. So again, the priority for, working on the house or interacting with the people in the household is not as strong. And so, of course, there's going to be some interaction. You may be even, trying to find a repair person or something like that. But all of that, there's just a bit of a disconnect. So you're not feeling it's a high priority, or if it is a priority, it's not a priority for others. And so it's challenging to get something together. On the plus side, it is more likely that things can wait. And if you do, if you wait outside that 2-week period, then better energy will happen. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that Mercury, which is in your house of money derived from career. So that's a really interesting position because that does say that more money can come from a job. Now, if you own a business, then it may be that you need to get in there and really work the business. Perhaps you are taking, a very managerial role, but you need to get down there and see what the procedures are like and the processes that people are using. Maybe something can be streamlined. This is also in your house of automation, and so this might mean that you are gaining something through technology. So perhaps you are working with automating some of your systems or automating your schedule or things like that. And so looking at how you can learn some technology to make your business or your job better. Now, when it comes to money from your business or traditional investments, Mercury is making a square to Neptune, and so you have some really good opportunities. Mercury's in a money house, Neptune's in a money house, so this is a time where I would expect that you would make more money than usual. Now, of course, making more money and accumulating money is two different things. Sometimes we can make a lot of money and then the money just goes right out again. And so if this is the case with you, you want to kind of hide some money from yourself. And that would be to put it into maybe a brokerage account or some sort of savings account or into something that's not so easy to spend. And so even if that means, cashing it into $2 bills or gold coins or something and hiding it that way. But this is a time where you're going to be making more money. So if you can do some work on how to accumulate money, that would be good at this time. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, we already kind of said that Mercury is in a really good place. It's in that house. And this is a perfect time to have that conversation with your supervisor about getting more money. Now, the difficult thing is because this is the old cycle, you may be put off a little bit where they say, oh, well, let's talk about it at your next review, or let's talk about it in a month or two. But you want to definitely plant the seed. Even though that seed will seem like it's dormant for a month or so, I think it will sprout into something that's really beneficial. So this is a good time to talk to the supervisor. You may get the good news during the 2-week period. And overall, it does look like you're making more money than usual. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're highly leveraged or time sensitive. Mercury is not making an aspect to Jupiter. So this is the first area of your finances that is not lining up. And that means that this is more of a time where you are working on your daily skills to get things better. So like if you are looking to put out an album, maybe you need to work on the album every day, or working on your skill set if you want to go edit movies or something like that. So you're working on those things, but not necessarily cashing in yet. And it's the same thing if you have risky investments. That might be that it's, with all the fluctuations in the market, it's not time to cash in yet. You're just kind of holding your position. And so with risky investments, it's often that you're not getting anything on a regular basis like you would for a business or a regular paycheck. And so but this says that right now there's more of a disconnect. So they don't look for the profits during this 2-week period. Look for them sometime later. Okay, Virgo, you guys are doing this new moon in your house of friendships, connections, community, as well as the future and technology. And this is where the energy is new. And so that is, maybe it's time to get back into community, going to groups again, reaching out to friends. Oh, I forgot to mention friends on my list. This is also friendships. And it's making a square to Jupiter in your area of resources, which means that everything that you're looking for, the universe is saying that everything is there available in your community. And that is to expand your circle of friends, find people where you can share different resources. And this is one, because it's a Cancer moon, it is about what you can give as well as what you can receive. And so you have the opportunity for this cornucopia of different opportunities. Did I say opportunities twice? I did. But this is an extraordinary time for you, where Jupiter, now in your house of resources, finally there, and it's not going to be there for the whole year. It's just going to be here for a little bit. Then you're going to get the rest next year. But this is a time right now, between now and I think it's the end of October, where you really want to connect with people and say, this is what I need, and see what kind of collaboration can happen. And then for the next 2 weeks, this is where the new energy is about friendships, about looking at your future. What is it that you really want with your future? And how can technology help with all that? Now, when we see that Mars square Pluto, we see an enormous amount of activity around creativity, children, risk-taking, adventure, and a little bit of romance. And so these are the places in your life where you need to be taking some sort of action. So it's possible that you've got some kid or two coming home from college, or maybe they were home and now they're off to summer camp or something like that. This is also that there might be some fertility energy going on, and so there might be a new addition at home in the form of a child, or doing an adoption, or maybe you're getting a pet. And then creativity is very strong, and looking at what you want to create and doing it with this sense of fearlessness. It's time for that. It's time to really put yourself forward in that area. This is also about some romance, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in about 2 seconds. Okay, as promised, when we look at relationships, especially new love, the Mercury is making a trine to Saturn, and so you have some really good energy for finding someone new. You've got a nice house of intimacy going on, so the Venus in your chart is very elevated, so people, they want to meet you, they like you. So this is really a time to put yourself out there, whether that's through online dating or telling your friends and family you're willing to go out on a blind date. But, like even when you're at the grocery store, notice who's around you. Start a conversation. Ask how they cook that vegetable that's in their basket. Do something where you can connect with someone, and you could meet a very interesting person this time. And then when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making a square to Neptune. So now we again have a lot of activity, and that is also in the area of intimacy. I mean, I shouldn't say that Neptune or Mercury are in that house, but it is a full house, so that's still important. And what that means is you can get closer to your beloved. You can really connect on a deeper level, strengthen the relationship, talk out things that have been bothering you, that have been bothering them, and then really lay things out on the table and make this relationship better. So there's really good energy for doing that this time. Now, when it comes to home and family, there's where we have a little bit of a disconnect. So it's interesting because you were doing all that stuff about children, but they seem to be coming and going. And that's kind of what it is in the house. Like people are coming and going, or perhaps you are finishing up a move or getting started with a move. And so there's a lot of kind of, moving things about, but nothing really seems to be coming together because there's no aspect between Mercury and Jupiter. I'm just remembering I didn't tell you that. So there's no aspect going on. And so that means that most of your attention is elsewhere. And that is that you are, there's a lot of elevated planets here, so you might be out in the world, but it's also that everybody at home's kind of doing their own thing and not really coming together. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Venus that is absolutely elevated in your chart. It's in your house of career, and that means that you have opportunities for a new job or to be easily seen. So as you are testing the waters on something new, perhaps a side business or starting your own business, energy is really great right now. Now, I will say it's really great because it's making that sextile to Jupiter in your house of resources, and it's making that semi-sextile to the new moon. Now, the semi-sextile means that it's time to step a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And for you, that might be that you need to speak up, or you need to put yourself on a video, or you need to ask for the sale, ask for the job, that sort of thing. But this is really great energy for you this time. Now, when it comes to money that's coming from your business or traditional investments, now we see that you're working on it, but you're only making about the same as usual because the Venus is not making an aspect to Mars. And so the money that is starting to happen, like the sales coming in, or that maybe your stocks are starting to go up again, it's not enough for you to take profits at the moment. So I think the profits are going to come outside this 2-week period. Right now, it's just continue on the path that you're going because you're heading the right direction. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and this would be like a paycheck, the moon is making this semi-sextile to Venus. So you could ask and say, hey, I want more money. I want to get maybe more hours, or, a better commission schedule, or semi-sextile. So that's a plus, but it's still, there's something about it that is a little bit difficult. Maybe your boss is a little hard to track down, or it's hard to get the meeting within this 2-week period. So this energy will line up in the future, and so you may want to wait, but it's quite possible that even if you don't say anything, you will make more over this 2 weeks than you normally do, just by a smidge. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're highly leveraged or time sensitive. Venus is not making an aspect to Saturn. So right now, there's not necessarily profits that you can take within the 2-week period. What's more likely is you're continuing to work on things, you're finding new investments perhaps, or you're working on your screenplay, or working on your skill set. But right now, it's hard for you to actually cash in on anything because there's not a connection with the money out there with your own bank accounts. When that energy lines up, which it will in the future, then you'll get the payday. But right now, a lot of what's done in this area is on spec. You do the work ahead of time and then you get paid. This, you're still doing the work and you're not yet paid. Okay, Libra, you guys are doing this new moon right at the top of your chart. It's in your house of career and reputation. And so you are very, very visible at this time. That means if you are putting something out into the world or putting yourself out into the world, maybe to meet someone, this is a time where you can be seen. And so that is really good energy for you, just to, make an impression, to be out there, maybe through social media, maybe in person. So though that's what you want to use this energy for. Now, this new moon is doing a square to Jupiter in your house of relationships. And so that means that you can meet all kinds of people. That is for love relationships. Also, though, friendships, partnerships, collaborators, influencers. So that's where this positive energy is sitting, and it is squaring that new moon. And so you can especially be helped in the area of career, but in all types of relationships right now, you can meet new people. Now, where you're doing that Mars square Pluto is based in that area of home, foundations, and upbringing. And so there's something here where you're transforming that experiences, or the many experiences you had as a child, which seem to be affecting you now. And so it is a lot, not so much on the experiences you had, but how you interpreted those experiences now that is affecting you. So the things that happened in childhood, those you can't change. Those really happened. So the challenge is for you to look at yourself now and say to yourself that as the person that you are now, would that still happen? And for most of us, that would be a no, that we would stand up for ourselves, or we'd leave the situation, or we would in some way change the circumstances so that we would be okay. And so this is a time to look at experiences that you're pulling forward and how those are coloring your life. And that might be where you say, well, I don't necessarily like to meet new people because in the past I've had some bad relationships, but now you have grown, you know more, and you can do different things. And so then you can say, okay, I do want to meet new people. I'm going to be more careful about, giving my heart, or jumping into a relationship, or jumping into a business partnership, or feeling like I'm coerced to sign something, or any of those things that were challenging in the past don't have to happen in the future, because now you are stronger, you're smarter, you're better. So that's what this square is about looking at what's stopping you from your past and saying, does this have a reason to continue to stop me? Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, you have a great house of relationships right now, but there's no connection going on between Venus and Uranus. So this is more that you can meet someone, but you're not really getting together in this 2-week period, or even that you've spotted a few people you want to talk to, but it's hard to get that phone conversation going during the 2-week period. So don't be impatient if at all possible. You are very visible at this time, so someone may come and ask for your phone number but then not contact you for a while, and so that's just because this energy isn't lining up. So don't think just because somebody is requesting your contact information that they're going to contact you right away, or worse, like they do contact you, but for some reason you don't see their voice message or you don't see their text. And so that's what can happen when the planets aren't lined up. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, again, the great house of relationships. It's got Jupiter there and Mars. It does have Chiron there, so still, like some healing and stuff like that. But there's no aspect going on between Venus and Mars. And so it is that you're trying to come together, but maybe you're not really discussing the things that are truly important. So you are coming together, having a good time, or connecting as you normally do. And then later you may, when this energy lines up, get to deal with some of the deeper issues. But right now it seems very, very superficial and rather surface oriented, like everyday stuff versus the deeper stuff. And so don't try to push the deeper stuff right now because the energy is just not lined up. It's a similar thing with home and family because Venus is not making an aspect to Saturn. And so again, it's like you're all there together, but you're only connecting on the very superficial level. And this is not a time to try for deep conversations or to get someone to change something because the energy is just not lining up. Now, it's really interesting because the majority of your energy is going on in the third quadrant, and this is more about accumulation of new friends, accumulation of money, and accumulation of knowledge. And so you might want to be focused on that instead. I shouldn't say you might want to. You are more focused on that instead. And so I did some videos on the different quadrants. I'll link to that playlist in the description. Now, when it comes to your money, again, I have to use that word extraordinary again, because you're pulling money from both that Pluto and Mars, and they are in this approaching square. So this is some big opportunities to make money. Now, a Mars square Pluto does indicate that action is really needed. You have to do something to make this happen, and it may feel like it's way outside your comfort zone, but you will, because of the Mars in the 7th house, be able to find people to help you do this. So if there is something that you want to do, look through your contacts and you can probably find someone who's done this before, or you could at least find the information on a source like YouTube, Googling to find somebody's blog. You can find how to do things. So the energy here, though, says that you may have a great business idea, you might have something you want to pursue, and now's the time to take action on it. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money that comes in from your business, you're not accumulating extra during this time. You're making about the same as usual because there's no aspect between Venus and Pluto. And so that means that business is coming in. We can see it coming in, but the money isn't quite here yet. Maybe you're giving people time to pay, or maybe you're seeing the customers outside the 2-week period, or because you're shipping things, it's just taking longer. So that's okay because you see that activity is happening. That's great. This is also a good time to work on collaborations with others and get things rolling in that way. When it comes to money derived from career, so like a paycheck, while your house of career is really good right now, it doesn't look like you're making more than usual because Mars and Pluto are not making an aspect to the sun. So what we're more expecting is that you could get a promotion, but the raise would be outside the 2-week period, or that you are getting elevated in some way to say, you're doing a wonderful job and here's a plaque, but the plaque doesn't come with a gift card. So it looks like you're making about the same as usual. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, and money to get going, they're highly leveraged or time sensitive. Mars is making a sextile to Saturn. So we have the co-ruler of your house of money making a sextile to the co-ruler of your house of risky investments. And a sextile means that if you take some sort of action, something can happen. So this is one of the strongest aspects you're getting in this chart for the 2 weeks, but overall it's not a super strong aspect in general. So that means that you have to take some sort of action and then something beneficial happens. This is not a time to roll the dice on some huge thing, but small dice rolls here and there during this 2-week period are okay because there is an opportunity to make more money than usual. Okay, Scorpio, you guys are doing this new moon in your house of travel, faith, exploration, adventure, as well as education and legal matters, and it's making a square to Jupiter in your house of routines. And so this all adds up to a need to put some of the wonderful things about travel and your faith into your daily life. And it is also saying that if you do have some legal matters, that right now through some daily action you can get past those. And that might be that maybe you have stacks of paper to read. Well, try and read, one in the morning and one in the evening until it's all done. If there are big applications or you're studying for some sort of professional exam, which would also fall under legal matters, then the thing is that as you're studying, study a little bit every day, you are getting better at this, you're closing in on your goal. But mostly this is talking about going out into the world and seeing things with new eyes. And that can be maybe doing some long distance travel, but even if you can't, even if you just go into the next town to go as a tourist, where you're really seeing things for the first time, trying new things, new restaurants, taking new routes and things like that. Now, this is also about taking your faith, your beliefs, and bringing that into your daily life. And so that might be through prayer or meditation or some sort of rituals that you're doing. And just so you are connecting with your higher self and to the bigger universe, on a daily basis, you'll find some extraordinary benefits from doing that. Now, where we're seeing that Mars square Pluto, with Pluto activating your house of communication, this is about how you're speaking to yourself and how that sometimes those negative thoughts can creep in, and when you're doing it to yourself, it's very hard for you to then get others to counter that, because of all the people in the world, you're going to believe yourself versus other people. And so you have to start by being supportive of yourself, by telling yourself kind things. You can be truthful and still be kind. If there's something that you need to be doing on a regular basis, which is represented by that Mars there, this is something where you say, okay, I haven't wanted to do that in the past. I haven't done it in the past, but I know I'm going to do it now. And then you just start it. You just do it. And so this is, instead of berating yourself and putting yourself down, to give yourself the love and support that you need and that you would give someone else that you wanted to succeed. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you have a very nice house of intimacy, and Pluto is making a sextile with Neptune, and so something here could happen. Now, I especially think that it would be good to be meeting someone who is like-minded with you in your belief system, who spiritually is aligned, and that I think is going to really facilitate some of the energy that we're seeing here. It also says to do things on a daily basis that will help you meet someone, and that is, get out of the house, and when you do, engage with people, see who's around you, connect with people. But I'm liking the energy that you have for meeting someone new over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, now we have no aspect going on between Pluto and Venus, and we have Uranus still there. So there's a little bit more contentious energy going on. And it's possible that as you're trying to change your daily routine and they maybe are trying to stay as they were, there's a little bit of friction going on. But mostly when we see that there's no aspect, it's that you're doing your thing, they're doing their thing, and it's not that you're intersecting that much. Now, when it comes to home and family, there is no aspect going on between Pluto and Uranus. There are some aspects, there's one aspect going on between the co-rulers of Saturn and Mars, and that's a sextile. So there is an opportunity, but it does seem like that you're coming together, that you're trying to do things together, and that is initiated by you. If you are waiting for someone else to initiate, then it's not going to happen. So if you want, everyone to get on board with a new diet or exercise program or family game night or something like that, then if you initiate, there is an opportunity to make it happen, but it's not anything that seems like it's feeling like people are feeling compelled to do it. It's more that they are joining in when they want to. On the other hand, this is quite good energy for decluttering or organizing what you have. And so maybe you are putting together your long-term storage items and getting rid of the things that you don't need. And so this is very good energy for that, and possibly even making a little extra money on the side, selling off the things you don't need. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Jupiter that is in your house of daily routines and work. So everything is really focused now on just getting the work done, and that leads directly to money. So now you've had the ideas, you are perhaps building the infrastructure for the different projects that you want to do, or honing your skills. Maybe you are learning how to do your video editing, or learning how to use your drone, or you're actually applying those skills. And if you do on a daily basis, you're going to make more money. Now, when it comes to money from traditional investments or money from your own business, while Mercury is not making an aspect to Jupiter, Mercury is in a money house and Jupiter is in a house of work. So even though it's not quite lined up at the moment, and it certainly will line up later, you do show that there are opportunities happening. So I think that the payday is coming outside the 2-week period, that during this 2 weeks you're making about the same as usual, but after that, when this energy does line up, because of the work you're doing now, something good can happen. Now, when it comes to money derived from your career, that would be like a paycheck. Again, no aspect between Jupiter and Mercury. However, you are getting noticed for the work you're doing, and so you may get some sort of perk this time, and that might be some sort of gift card or some flexibility in your hours. Maybe they're letting you work from home, even though they're pulling everybody else back in. Maybe you're getting vested on some stock. So it's like it's not translating into actual cash, but there is some sort of benefit or perk that you can get over this 2-week period. And then finally, when it comes to risky investments and they're highly leveraged or time sensitive. Jupiter's not making an aspect with Neptune. And so Jupiter is in that house of work. So it says that you need to lay the groundwork for whatever it is that you want, whether this is a speculative business or you're buying a business, so you need to do your due diligence, or if you're doing a long-term project on spec, that right now the energy is more about just getting the work done. As Jupiter goes retrograde and comes back to conjunct that Neptune, that's when the payday is, that's in the future. But right now the energy is more focused on just getting the work done, hone your skills, because this could bring a big payday in the future. Okay, Sagittarius, you guys are doing this new moon in your house of resources, and it's squaring Jupiter in your house of creativity, children, fertility, also taking risks. And so the interesting energy here is that there is some new resource that you can grab hold of. The thing that maybe you're doing that you've always done is you're taking those resources that you're getting, whether those is knowledge or money, and you're giving it right to your kids. And so you do want to make sure that you're just not the conduit for everything for them, but that you are getting something for yourself, your own personal growth and security. So this is also that you have resources for your creativity. If you want to create something, whether that is art or music or books or whatever, you now have the resources. And that means that there is somebody out there who can tell you how to upload your book to Amazon, or how to, mix the right sounds for your album, or, whatever the resources that you need, which also can be money. So that means possibly doing crowdfunding projects or asking for a loan for your business. So there is some really exciting energy here, but yes, you can, be very maternal or paternal and just give everything to the kids and they will be very happy. But you need to reserve some for yourself. Now, where you're doing that Mars square Pluto is dealing with those houses of taking risks as well as handling your finances. And so we're going to talk about risky investments in a moment, but this is more that you have had years now where you can transform your finances, and those years are going to be coming to a close. That means that in the next 2 years, Pluto is going to be leaving your house of money. So, and in some ways, that's going to be a little bit of a relief, but right now you want to use that Pluto energy to make a shift in your finances and your attitudes about finances and how you take care of your finances. And here is Mars coming along to give you the energy to do so. And Mars is in that house of creativity, so looking at a different way of handling your money, there's so many different ways. There's apps to do it. There's online programs, or you can do something old-fashioned like a cash envelope system. There's a lot of great videos on just people counting out their cash and saying, this is how much I spent, so you don't have to do anything alone anymore. There are people out there who are, generously showing you how to do things. And so it's time now to look at your finances and see what needs to be transformed. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, you have an excellent house of relationships and you have a wonderful house of romance going on, but there's no aspect going on between Jupiter and Mars. And so what that means is that you could meet somebody, but not quite get together yet. So you might be texting, but not talking on the phone. You might be talking on the phone, but not actually meeting in person. And so try to be patient with this energy, because it is quite good if you want to do online dating, or you want to be go on a blind date. It just looks like the actual meeting of the person is outside the 2-week period. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect going on between Mercury and Jupiter, but Venus and Mercury are in that house of relationships. So it's almost like you're trying to get together, but maybe because of work or your schedules or something, you keep like missing each other. Or you want to talk about one thing, something that's very personal to you, but they're not ready to open up about it or to have that discussion with you. So I think all of that real work is happening outside the 2-week period. So, but for now, I see some harmony. You have a good house of intimacy happening. So you've got some good energy, but it's not lining up exactly as you want. So, kind of dial back some of your expectations for the next 2 weeks. And then to round out the personal predictions, Jupiter's not making an aspect to Neptune for your house of home and family. And so again, everything seems to be focused very outwardly. And so when it comes to, meeting new people and making new connections and finding new resources, things are great. But when you get home, it's like maybe your kids aren't paying that much attention to you, or your roommate's still slamming the door like they promised they wouldn't do, things like that. And it's hard to work out things until this energy lines up. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Saturn that is now retrograde and bringing you opportunities that have come up in the past. So that might mean that somebody from a past job wants you back, or that you maybe are going back into a profession that you've done before. Maybe you have clients who have bought from you before who are now knocking on your door again. So you're getting a lot of repeat people. So, but also you do want to be careful that you don't fall back into an old habit, especially anything that has to do with negativity, etc. I know there is a lot of negative news out there, but if you look at it as, from a Sagittarius sort of place, the Sagittarius energy is that other people might shy away from something, but you're all in. So why not consider that if the markets are going down and you see fundamentals as being good, this could be a buying opportunity for you. So to look at things from that maybe more contrarian sort of standpoint, and not that Sagittarius is so contrarian by any means, but you are willing to look at the whole picture and look at what the truth about things is. And so that's why I think you can really benefit during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to traditional investments and money from your business, the moon is making a sesquiquadrant to Saturn, plus the new moon is in that house. So that's all fantastic energy. There is some big win that you can have. It takes a little, like it's a bit of a leap. Like you have to get outside your comfort zone, and that might be phoning up someone to make a deal, to collaborate with someone, to ask some institution to support you by financing your business, or to look at some investments in a different way. Maybe they are traditional investments, but you're looking at doing something a little different with them. So that is this energy shows up as making more money over the next 2 weeks. So I think the opportunity is there if you want to explore it. Again, sesquiquadrant, not the easiest of aspects, but there is an aspect, and that means there could be profits. Now, it's a different story when we look at money derived from career, because there's no aspect between Saturn and Venus. And so that means there is a little bit of a disconnect. It's possible that maybe you're taking some time off because everything is kind of focused outward, and Uranus, of course, is in your house of work. It's been there a while, but that can cause changes in your schedule. So you might be making about the same as usual, possibly a little bit less if you're not working. So, but right now, it's not so helpful to try to pin down your manager for a raise or something like that. Wait till this energy lines up better before you do that. And then finally, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're highly leveraged or time sensitive. Mars is making a sextile to Saturn. So there is an opportunity. Mars is in that house. And so this is, that you could maybe go ahead and start to look at purchasing the business that you're thinking of, or maybe getting your business ready to sell. Maybe you are getting ready to launch a product that is something you've been working on for a while. The sextile energy is you take an action and then something positive can happen. This is not like super extraordinary energy. Sextile is a little bit more mundane or everyday. So, but it's still an aspect, and that's what we need to see the profits. So in this area, you could make more profits than usual. Okay, Capricorn, you guys are doing this new moon in your house of relationships, which indicates that new people and new connections are the potential to happen. Of course, that means you have to get out of the house, and that's where you're doing that square to Jupiter in your house of home and family. So first of all, it does mean get out of the house and see new people, but it also could be that you are bringing people into your home, and that is maybe bringing your sweetheart home to meet your family, or that your kids are bringing people home, so you're meeting those parents. Like there's ways to connect home and family with the outside world, and that's kind of what's happening. Now, this new moon also can indicate that new partnerships, collaborations, a mentor, a coach, all of that type of energy can happen. And so you can really do something where you are connecting with others outside of just your usual circle, especially connecting outside of your family. Now, on the other hand, the Jupiter is down there at the base of your chart, and it says that you can also pull energy from your genetic line, your spiritual family, as well as your ancestors. And so that is, if your great-great-great-grandfather was very good at something, you have access to that energy, and so you can pull that forward. Or if there is something in your genetic line that says there's, like it's your second cousin once removed was a famous sailing captain, like this, you can pull this energy for adventure or opportunities. So you can use this Jupiter for that. Now, also this Jupiter is bringing some luck at home for home and family, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Now, when we look at that Mars square Pluto, of course, Pluto is in your own sign of Capricorn. It's been transforming you for years. And so if you look back, you are a very different person than when Pluto entered the sign of Capricorn. Now, this is also showing you where you should have confidence, where you need to trust yourself and believe in yourself. And so this Pluto here, going through Capricorn all these years, has been taking away anything that was false, anything that you were trying to lean on that wasn't really you, and taking those things away. And what you find is that you are a very strong person, that you're able to stand up on your own and move forward in the direction that you want. And now you're making that square to Mars in Aries in your area of home and family. And so it's possible that maybe your family wasn't on board with the direction that you wanted to go, and now you're finding that they are, open to this idea. Maybe you still feel that you need to go a direction and your family is not really open to that, but that now you have the confidence to do that. So there does seem to be a lot of action, and that action seems to be predicated on something that your family's doing. Maybe they are approving of it, or maybe they're saying don't do it, and that's just enough to get you to move forward anyway. Now, also, I just wanted to point out that one of the things that you can do to build your confidence is to really work on some sort of skill. So confidence and self-esteem, of course, are different things. Self-esteem is a sense of deserving, of knowing because you're living and breathing that you deserve something. But confidence is the knowledge that you can do something. And so confidence is that through practice, you get better at something, and then you get more confident. A lot of times I hear clients saying that, they don't know what they really want to do, and they don't know what they'll be good at. And you're not going to know, and everything will feel not great until you practice. But if you commit to something, let's say for a month, and you really work at it and work on one little bit of it and you work at it every day, you are going to like it more at the end of the month because you're better at it. And so even if it turns out to not be the end all be all in your life, it is a way to feel better, feel more confident, is to practice. All right, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn. And Venus is in your house of work, and so it doesn't really feel like love is the big topic right now. And if it is on your mind, because you do have a good house of relationships, as we were just mentioning, if it is something that you are really feeling, then you need to work at it. You need to maybe work through your profile, get some better pictures, really craft what you are saying. Maybe you need to work on it from a spiritual side too, and visualize meeting the person. A lot of people I know visualize the relationship, but they don't visualize how they're going to meet that person. And so then, when they do get in that situation, they don't feel comfortable enough to make a connection. So there, it looks like relationship energy is here, but the actual meeting of someone has a little bit of, there's some obstacles in the way. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making a sesquiquadrate with Saturn, which is not the easiest of aspects, but when it works, it's extraordinary. And so it is worth it. I mean, it's kind of like you're trying to throw the dart and hit the bullseye. It is something where it's higher pressure, etc. So, but again, it is worth it. Plus, you have the new moon there, so it's worth taking the chance. And that is to get with your sweetheart and work out the issues that you have. Put your cards on the table. Tell him, him or her, what is bothering you, so that you can work things out, because you have this extraordinary chance to do so. And now, when it comes to home and family, Mars is making a sextile to that Saturn. Plus, Mars is in your house of home and family, so a lot of good energy. Sextiles are very nice because if you take an action, something good can happen. So it says that getting along with your family can really work. You can talk things out with people. Perhaps you are now coming together as a family where kids were off at school before, and now you're all together under one roof, but it can go well. So there's some good energy when it comes to home and family. This also is, if you're moving right now, take an action, you'll find a place. Take an action, you'll find a mover, etc. So it's you initiate the action and then good things follow. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that Saturn as well as that Uranus. Saturn's in a money house, Uranus is in a money house, and now Saturn is moving backwards, which means that they are going to form a square. Now, it's not going to be an exact square, and it's still months away, but it's going to still form a square. That means some extraordinary energy is coming up. I can't believe how many times I've said extraordinary for your chart this time. Now, this energy is still on approach, and that means that this is a time to start planting the seeds and getting things ready for this big win that is coming later. So that is to work on your business or work on your investments, but to look at what you can do, maybe even on a daily basis, to move yourself forward. So, and some of this is about, gaining the confidence to do this, because when we look at these two powerhouse planets coming together, it means that this is going to be kind of a big deal. So that means you want to do all the groundwork, lay the foundation so that something great can happen later. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, so Uranus is not making an aspect with the sun, but Saturn, which is a co-ruler, it's your ruler and it's a co-ruler of your house of money, is making a sesquiquadrate to the sun. So here is one of those things where you could have get a lot of no's from clients, no, and then you get one person who buys everything you've ever produced, so you can get one person who is really just makes your week. But this Sesqui quadrants are challenging aspects, and so it's not that easy to do. Don't put all your eggs in that basket, but do try to diversify as much as you can, because something, like do some traditional investments. You might do a long shot here or there in a traditional way, and maybe that would pay off, but you show that there's a potential of something paying off that could be rather large, but the odds are still, it's difficult because it's a sesquiquadrant, not an easy aspect. Okay, when it comes to money derived from career, which would be like a paycheck, the co-ruler Mars is making an aspect, a sextile to the co-ruler Saturn. So you've got rulership happening. Where I think it's a little bit off is Mars is not in a money house. And so, but Saturn is. So there is something here. I think what could happen, though, is you might ask for a raise, and then your supervisor says, yes, but you have to come back into the office and work full time in the office. And maybe you say, I don't want to do that. Or they are asking you to work a different shift. And I think there's going to be some sort of strings attached to it, but it is a sextile, so it's worth a try. And maybe you can negotiate yourself out of having to do those extra things. Or maybe that's the perk you're getting, is they are calling everybody back, but you can negotiate with them now to give yourself a reprieve so you don't have to go back as soon as maybe your colleagues are. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, and money to get going, they're highly leveraged or time sensitive. Uranus is not making an aspect to Venus, nor is Saturn. And so there is, with Venus now in your house of work and routines, this is more something about doing the work necessary. Again, there's a lot in this chart right now about laying a foundation, laying the groundwork, building the infrastructure versus, jumping in and grabbing, the prize. So, and that could be that maybe you're in your investments now, but now things are down, and so you're waiting for things to come back up, or you bought low and you're waiting for it to go to a high so you can sell it. Or this is that you're still in the process of creating your art or your portfolio or your new products. And so that's why the profits aren't exactly there yet. So, everything's kind of status quo in this area. Okay, Aquarius, you guys are doing this new moon in your area of daily routines, health, well-being, and work. And so this is where new things can happen. So maybe you are starting a new exercise program, or you are doing something for your health that is brand new. And, this is a time to do new energy. So just going back to old habits or things like that, the moment you see yourself doing that, say, this is the new moon. I need to do something different. So during this 2-week period, look at what you can do that is different. Now, this energy is making a square to that Jupiter in your house of communication. So this is how you talk to yourself, maybe how you journal. And so maybe you are writing down what you're eating every day or how much you're exercising. Maybe it's just like a bullet journal, so you're just making a little tick mark, but just so you can see your progress. So, but it also does say that you can communicate with others about this, and that is to have discussions with colleagues for the work part of that, or to have discussions with family members about daily routine. So, the Jupiter can really help you out. You can get quite inspired by the information that you're receiving, but mostly you want to be kind and talk to yourself in a loving manner, because that's going to support your well-being. And then as you do things to support your well-being, then your mental state gets better and everything harmonizes. Now, when we look at that Mars square Pluto, it's very interesting because Mars is in that house of communication. And so it's looking for some sort of action it can take, starting with a plan. And that would be maybe a goal board, or, writing out your goals, or, looking at basically what kind of progress you've been making. And that's where I'm pulling in that Pluto, because Pluto has been in your 12th house for a long, long time, and pretty soon, and by soon from Pluto terms means in the next year or so, it is going to go into your own sign of Aquarius, and it's going to help transform you and empower you. But right now, it has been taking you from the inside out, and that is, you have worked a lot on who you are and, knowing who you are, clearing out the gunk, that other people or things have gotten in. And so you've been clearing that out. You have maybe another year and a half to do that. And so, but that's over the course of many years. So you've made great progress. And so some of this is to ask yourself, how much have you changed over the last couple of years? How much have you changed over the last 5 years? How much have you changed over the last 10 years? You're going to see that you've made some extraordinary progress. And with that, then that inspires you to go forward and do this last little sprint to the end. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is making a semi-sextile to Uranus, plus Mercury's in that house and Venus is there too. So there's an opportunity to meet someone new. Now, it's interesting because all the planets except for Pluto is below the horizon, and that means that you have to get out of the house, otherwise it's hard for you to be seen. So you might contact the person through social media or online dating, but you're going to do best when you meet in person. And so try to make that date as soon as possible, because this is really good energy for finding somebody. Now, yeah, I just said it was really good energy. This is a semi-sextile. Is it? Hold on, I have to check. It is a semi-sextile. And so that means it's just slightly outside of your comfort zone, that they're not going to be this perfect, like everything is perfect. But there's going to be something there where a connection can be made, and you're going to find where you have common ground. And the things that you don't have common ground on might be small enough that you guys can just work it out. Now, when it comes to your committed love relationship, now the sun's not making an aspect to Uranus, so the energy really is not there. And what that means is you're probably just, going about your own routines, not really interacting on the deeper level. And that's okay, because you don't have to do that all the time. It's like you're doing your realm and they're doing their realm, and so things are moving along. If you're trying to get their attention to work out something, that's where there is a disconnect. They won't have time, or you just can't get your schedules together. So look for doing any sort of real relationship core work at another date. Now, when it comes to home and family, Venus is not making an aspect with Uranus. And even though everything is below the horizon, the actual house only has Uranus in it, well, along with the North Node. And so it's like the family's there, but everybody's coming and going, and you're not actually connecting so much. It's possible that someone is traveling to you, but they haven't quite made it there, or they make it, but they're still so tired that you're not really connecting. So this energy will line up in the future, but right now it just looks like you're all going in different directions. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Neptune in your house of money, as well as that Jupiter, which is now in that house of communication. So there's quite a few opportunities that are in the works. So they're tiny little seeds right now. They're not even sprouted. But when Jupiter goes retrograde and comes back to go into your house of money, that's when things are really going to start to manifest. That is toward the end of the year. So right now, I think we're seeing a lot of interesting ideas. Jupiter's in Aries, so there's opportunities to move forward on some things, but to really have something grow, what you need to do is plant a lot of seeds. That is connections with others, working on your skills, working on your ideas, moving the business forward, or whatever the financial endeavor is, forward a little bit every day. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, Mercury is making a square to Neptune, and so there is some profits that you can make over this next 2 weeks. So you want to look for, going out and, selling to people you've sold to before, or new people as well, but also looking at some investments maybe you bought a while ago, and so they are up. Maybe you bought at a low, and now you see them rising, and so it's time to take some profits. So, but you have some opportunities if you take action, and I think you're going to feel rather compelled to take action during this time, and so I think you'll make more money over this next 2 weeks than usual. Now, when it comes to money from your career, like a paycheck. Jupiter's not making an aspect with Neptune right now. So it was in the past, and so maybe you got a raise fairly recently, and it will again in the future towards the end of the year. And so you want to wait and ask for your raise or your bonus or your better commission schedule until we get a little farther along in the year. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're highly leveraged or they are time sensitive. Mercury is making a square to Neptune. So really great energy. And what's even more important is this energy is getting closer because Mercury moves very fast. So this energy is getting tighter and tighter. More opportunities are coming in. You have Venus, which is naturally a money planet. Something here. Now, because it is risky investments, you do need to be cautious. This isn't just because you're doing an aspect doesn't mean that you know everything and it's just going to work. An aspect says from the universe to try because there is some possibilities here. And so take some action, but take action where you are, as much as possible watching out for the downside risk, doing things to mitigate, any losses that you could have, only using money that you can afford to lose, etc. If this is something more about launching something that you've been doing on spec for a long time, now things are lined up as this could be the best time to launch your book or your podcast or your album or something like that, to put something out into the world because this energy is lining up. Now, I'm saying that even though we have a lot below the horizon, so this would be launching something that the product itself is the star versus you, because you're kind of hidden right now. So this would be, if you're doing an album, it's not your name so much on the album, but it's the whole band. Or if it's your book, you're launching it under a pseudonym for some reason. So it's something where the product itself needs to stand out, and then it can be quite successful. Okay, Pisces, you guys are doing this new moon in your house of creativity, children, fertility, also risk-taking, adventure, and romance. So like the best things. And so this is where the new beginning is happening. So that's new creative projects. If you're looking to get pregnant, if you are looking for romance, there are some possibilities here. So this is where you want to focus on doing things that you enjoy and finding how you can bring more enjoyable things into your life on a regular basis. Now, this is making a square to that Jupiter in your house of money, but the house of money is also the house of self-esteem. So self-esteem is different than self-confidence. Self-confidence says I can do it. Self-esteem says I deserve it. And this is self-esteem. So self-esteem means not esteeming by other people, but by yourself. That is that you believe you deserve it, that you are determining that you are worthy. And so when you do, then extraordinary opportunities can happen. So that's what you're working on at this time, and Jupiter is facilitating that energy. But it's mostly a shift, a mental shift for yourself to say, yes, I am worthy. And the worthiness doesn't have to be connected to an action, although this Jupiter is in Aries, so it does like an action. But it doesn't have to be connected to say, I've climbed these mountains or I've helped these people or all of that. It is saying that you're worthy because you're breathing, because you're in a body, and because there's an abundance in this world, that means that you do deserve to have, this and that. Now, the confidence piece of this is different, and that is, do you have the confidence to go and get the job? Do you have the confidence to walk up to the stranger and say, I'd like you, I want to go out with you? So that's where there's a little bit of a difference here. So this is really saying you deserve it, and as you do, if you meditate on that, you can attract to you some real opportunities. Now, where we see that Mars square Pluto is very interesting because Pluto is in your house of the future. And so sometimes you can have this idea that things are supposed to go in this regular rate, like you're supposed to go to college and graduate, and then you meet somebody, and then you get a house, and then you get a baby, and all of that. And then if life doesn't work out that way, you start to think like, hey, I've been gypped here. But in actuality, even though that is, I don't know, quote unquote, the norm. So few people do it that way that this is where Pluto says you have to build your own future. Stop just taking on what other people say should be the future, and then, putting your life against that and saying, oh, I'm not getting that. So this is more about you saying, all right, where do I want to go? What is the destination that I want? What are the goals that I want? And then allow the universe to say, well, there's a couple of routes to this destination. So we also do see that Mars in the second house. And so that is to kind of watch your spending a little bit, because that directly affects your future. So you don't want to put yourself in such a leveraged position that you are, borrowing from tomorrow to pay for today. So that's where some of this, like if you have your list for the future and then start to see stuff that you could save up for, then start saving for that, start finding other sources of income so that you can fund that future that you want so much, even if it's the freedom to go do what you want when you want to do it. So that's what this square is about, but it's mostly just telling the universe, this is the destination that I want to do. This is what I want to do in the future. And then the universe can help bring the financial opportunities as well as that inner strength to go and make this happen. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, it's really interesting because the new moon is there, but there's no aspect between the moon and Neptune. And so what this kind of indicates is that there's a lot of interest that you have in new relationships right now, but you're not actually connecting just yet. So maybe you've started texting, maybe you are talking on the phone, but you haven't actually met yet. And there's an interesting thing that happens when two people meet, when the two souls come together, because that's when you really recognize each other. And then I say recognize like from a past life or from a soul family sort of energy. So talking on the phone, especially if you're just doing something more remote like texting, doesn't really tell you about the person. And so most of the energy for meeting someone is outside this 2-week period. This is just where you are connecting to say, oh yeah, we want to meet in the future. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the energy is much stronger because Mercury is making a square to Neptune. So you are coming together. You can strengthen the relationship. You can talk things out. You can make the relationship better this time because you can express what it is you need. You have Mercury right in your house of home and family. And then you can find out what your partner wants. And then you can find that middle ground. And then when it comes to home and family, you also have that good energy because that Mercury square Neptune still applies, plus Mercury is in that house. So I see a lot of activity going on at home. Maybe you're moving, maybe you're unpacking from a move, maybe somebody has moved in and they're kind of, finding what they're doing. Maybe the kids are just going in and out because, they're going off to camp and they're going off to, some sort of classes or things like that. So there's a lot of activity at home. There may be some additional activity in the neighborhood as well. So some construction, things like that. But it looks like kind of a happy chaos going on. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mars, which is making that very powerful square to Pluto. And so Pluto is quite actively taking away anything that is false in your life. And that would include if you are counting on some sort of financial gain from a source that is not going to happen, Pluto could take that away. And then you will see that it wasn't going to happen in the first place. On the other hand, this aspect could reveal some huge money-making opportunity for you, maybe inventing something or collaborating with someone, getting in with a great company. So you have some big opportunities there, and this is all predicated on you taking that action and saying, okay, I'm going to fill out my application, or I'm going to say yes to meet with this potential business partner, etc. So you take an action and something extraordinary can happen. Now, when it comes to money from your business or traditional investments, Mars is not making an aspect with Venus. And so that means that more the work is going on. This is the idea stage, the time when you're filling out paperwork or you're just roughing out ideas versus taking actual profits. So I think you're making about the same as usual for your investments or from your business. Now, when it comes to money from your career, which would be a paycheck, Mars is making a sextile to Saturn, so there is an opportunity to make more money than usual. So this may be that you are working more hours or that you get some sort of bonus, but it's also possible to get a raise at this time. And that is if you can just nail down your supervisor long enough to have that conversation. So that's the only thing. Your supervisor may be very busy or maybe traveling, and so you just have to nail them down for the meeting, and then you have an opportunity to make more money than usual. And then finally, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're highly leveraged or time sensitive. The new moon is there, but the new moon is not making an aspect to Mars. So with the new moon there, that means that something is occurring to you perhaps, or coming to you, that is so new you can't take profits from it yet, but is something to explore, to plant the seed, to get something to grow. You're gonna have to tend the seed and watch it, and that means, learning more about it, being in communication about it. And when this does line up, which it will in the future, then you'll take the profits. But right now, it is more about finding new things that you can do that can make money, because the universe is going to show you basically a fertile garden where you can plant some seeds. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe and stay tuned, because LaRue wants to say hi. Thank you.